Uh, Absentee vote, or you can vote by mail-in. I know I was able to do that with my state in the state of Texas. My wife and I sent our ballots out last week. But certainly, if you aren't comfortable with going in, and certainly I get it just because of COVID and things like that. If you want to mail in, I think that's the best thing that we have that our country offers is each state allows you to kind of fill out a ballot that way.
How much more do you wish you could do, given the limitations with COVID and all that stuff right now?
For me, it would just be to appoint people to voting booths. If there's not one close by or in their city, figuring out ways that they're informed so they know where to go so they can vote. Help them to inform them on how to get registered, because you'd be surprised. A lot of people my age who this will be their first time voting or even not younger haven't really thought about those steps or aren't really too familiar with those steps. So I think for the way that we did it this year, getting it out social media, just because social media is huge now, it's just the way that we communicate or around the world. I think it was fantastic. I mean, watching the football games on Monday now, they're even talking about it during the game and during commercial break. I think a lot of people need to understand the importance of it and how our democracy is built upon it. And this is one of our country's founding principles. We should all take part in it.
Congratulations, by the way, on AFC Defensive Player on that honor.
Thank you.
Looking ahead, though, to New England, you've been here since 2013. You're 2-12 against the Patriots. You yourself, you've been here the longest. You know the frustrations. I mean, what would it mean? I mean, you've never beaten Brady, but Brady's gone, so that's beyond us. But what would it mean for this team, for you, to beat this team this weekend?
I think it's huge. I think it not only does it help us in this building understand the importance of conference games and division games, but I think it's huge for us because that's the next opponent. That's the next team that we have to face, and they're in our way of hanging the AFC East banner. That's what we talked about, is taking care of our division and then getting to the playoffs. And so for us in this building, to bring that back to this city would be huge. And by the Patriots just being the next opponent on the schedule, we knew we were going to see them twice a year. So this just makes this game that more exciting, just because we're very familiar with them. They're very familiar with us. So it's going to be a smash mouth 4-quarter football game. And I think that's what we look forward to doing, is because that's just how football is played.
I apologize for hogging all the time, but I have one more question. Are we seeing a changing of the guard in the AFC East?
I figure you got to take that title away before we can make that statement. And those guys, they still have that title hanging over there in Boston. So until someone takes that crown from them, we cannot yet to say that. So I'm going to hold my tongue, because I know I don't like to put anything out there in the universe and then have to come back and, eat crow. So I will say that we're going to be ready for this game.
Thanks, Jerry. I appreciate it, and congrats again.
Thank you.
Hey, Jerry. Cool. Congrats on the Player of the Week also. Look, we know it's not all about sacks, but we also know you edge rushers like to get your sacks. So to finally ring the bell last week twice, just the frustration level that takes away from you now, to have that finally off the
it felt good. It was like a baseball player trying to hit home runs. You show up to the park, you take your swings, you take your cuts. You may hit the warning track, you may hit the ball right hard, right at somebody, but eventually you want it to go over the fence. So to kind of just see that happen in the game this past Sunday was just fun. It was exciting to just be a part of the team, to help them in some way that I could. So that's all that we really look forward to really doing up front. Is trying to find ways to make TFLs and tackle the quarterback so we could just create negative plays just to help our team win.
I wrote in my story today that you've probably put more mileage on your tires trying to get that first sack, because you've been around the quarterback all year. It just hasn't happened for you. Talk a little bit about, if you could, the relentless attitude that you seem to bring. I mean, no matter whether you get the quarterback or not, you always seem to be affecting the quarterback.
Yeah, it's something that our coach talks about daily. Coach Washington always brings up, the best way to win a football game is to create negative plays and force the quarterback into mistakes, or anything where he's panicking, giving up sacks and fumbles. And so we know that those guys aren't the best ball handlers on the field. So we try to do our best to get back there quick, fast, and violent. So I think just listening to him preach and listen to the ways and the techniques that he's actually teaching us has really helped me out in my 11th year. You know, I'm still learning new things about football, learning new ways that I can attack my opponent. So I think by having him in my corner, on my shoulder like that, man, is just showing such vital signs for not only me, but for everybody up front.
All right. Thanks, Jerry.
Yeah.
Hey, Jerry, Josh Reed here. Congratulations on the award. You know, you mentioned 11 seasons into your career now. Do awards like that mean a little bit more now? Is there a little more appreciation as you get a little bit older and have a few more years under your belt?
Yeah, I mean, it certainly does. Just watching my kids' face when I came home after the game and how excited they were. My son's down in the basement dancing on the bar, and my daughter's at 2 years old, so she's still trying to figure things out. I think seeing their reaction, it just overwhelms you with joy, just because at the end of the day, this is a child's game. We get paid a king's ransom, and to see their reaction. My son's 4 years old, and he thinks he has football figured out, and it's just so cool being a dad and being able to enjoy these moments with them. Certainly, it's a huge honor. I will certainly cherish it, but I think watching their reaction and seeing how happy and proud they are just makes it so much more.
So, okay, then let me ask this, because we've asked Sean and Josh, and you've been asked this, the importance of the Patriots game. And while, you know, we understand that, you know, hey, it's the next game on the schedule, that's why it's the next biggest game. How important is this to your son? Does your son grasp the idea of how big this game is?
Oh, he does, because he plays Madden like every day. So he's the biggest Josh Allen, John Brown fan, just because John Brown is square on the game. So he knows when he's hitting square, John Brown's catching, he better score. So he's the biggest Josh Allen fan. So he's excited to watch Josh go out there and tear those guys up. He tells me, just get Josh the ball, and I tell him I'm going to do that. So I think it'll be cool. We know it's the next game up. We know it's a division game. We're going to get their best shot, but we're going to give them ours just because of that division rivalry. You know, I tell those guys that they don't get to feed off the fans' energy that's huge in games like this. But, you know, we got to bring that juice because we want to win a division championship, and they're in our way.
Well, you'll probably be able to hear your son screaming for you, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Thanks, Jerry. I appreciate your time.
No problem.
Okay, Jerry, Mark Gaughan from the Buffalo News. Thanks for doing this. What do you see? What stands out about the New England running game? I'm sure you saw they kind of gashed Miami a little bit with some of their read option stuff. They'll use power, pull the guards. They'll do the wham blocks on the defensive tackles. Just kind of what are you seeing from their run game scheme this year?
A lot of misdirection, just pre-snap, just making you think about football, making you kind of second guess your job. But for the most part, it's the New England Patriots offense. A lot of downhill run, smash mouth football. They're going to challenge you first quarter. They're going to challenge you in the fourth quarter. So we understand that this is just going to be a game up front where we got to stop the run. You got to be physical. You got to bring your lunch pail, because the same runs that we're going to get in the first half will suddenly show up in the fourth. And for us up front, it's just how we can do our job. Can we out-execute them and do our job longer and harder? So we know what kind of game it's going to be. It's strictly smash mouth, just because that's our division. Guys like to run the ball late in the year, especially with the way that the weather will kind of play and affect. So I've been letting those guys know, just from people who haven't really been on the team or haven't been in this division long, this is the kind of game we want to play in, where it's going to come down to us in the fourth, and it's going to be a smash mouth 4-quarter knuckle brawl. So I'm excited. I know the guys in this building are excited to get after it.
Perfect. Thank you.
Hey, Jerry, congrats on the award. We were talking to Leslie the other night, and he said that he saw something out of you on Sunday that he had never seen to that level before. And he, obviously talked about Kyle and Lorenzo, and, playing with both those guys and everybody filling different roles for so long that when those guys leave, some other guys have to come in and assume new roles. Was there any hesitancy with you, to step into that major leadership role, or has it kind of come natural as the season has progressed?
Probably a little bit more of hesitancy, I would say, just because watching Kyle and being here with Kyle for so long and watching Lorenzo, I'm not as vocal as those two guys are. So I think for me, I like to go out there and work hard and perform and try to use that as a form of leadership. But I know that there's different forms of it. So just reading up on that in the off season and really taking a page out of their book, because at some point in time, a leader has to be vocal to let the guys know that, this isn't right, or to be vocal enough to congratulate someone, pick someone up when their head's down or they're getting ripped by a coach, but just to let them understand that, this is all love. So just figuring out how those guys were able to be such great leaders for so long, and then now seeing how I could kind of put my little spin on it and still be who I am, which is that fun-loving, just want to go out there and play football kind of guy. So I think I've had two great leaders with those two guys, to kind of sit back and watch. And so now that it's my turn, I really get to have a lot more of a hands-on approach.
Well, just to tell you, listening to you talk every week here, I mean, it's a pleasure for us. And I was wondering, what have been your impressions of AJ Epinesa, a guy that kind of came in early and, no off season, no mini camp, has kind of like come along slowly. And then all of a sudden you're starting to really notice he's starting to pop a little bit.
Oh man, it's been great watching AJ just from this spring. Watching him on Zoom chats, which is so weird to say that we weren't able to be face to face, but watching him on Zoom, he's kind of just this wide-eyed kid in the NFL locker room or Zoom room, whatever you want to call that virtual space. And so for him to kind of be a little bit more shy and reserved, and now we get around each other, he's opening up. I say the biggest thing for him is that he asks questions every day, whether it's the coaches or he's asking a vet like myself, and he's learning, and which is huge for young guys. If it's not where it's something on the field, it's something off the field where he can kind of learn to take care of his body. I always tell him these first couple of years are so crucial because this is how you can put years on your career towards the end. And so now he's in the ice tub, he's taking care of his body, working with masseuse, things like that. So I've been so proud of him just by his success on the field, but then watching him grow and mature off the field too, just in our building, in our meetings, has been great because you got to have that mental space in order to be a good football player, honestly.
Thanks, Jerry. Appreciate it.
Yep.
Yes. Good afternoon, Jerry. George Radney, Challenger Community News. How you doing today?
Doing well, man. How you doing?
Great. I'm sorry. Just having a little technical. Let me get this real quick here before we.
All right.
Here we go. There we go. There we go, Jerry. My bad. Jerry, yeah. What is it about getting the juice going? It seems like not only the Bills, but other teams, the defense seems to have trouble because there's no crowd noise getting going. It looks like the offense takes advantage of the defense a lot early in these games.
Oh, yeah. I mean, just for defensive style of play, that loud, noisy environment, a lot of us thrive off of it. Not only helps us to concentrate more, but it certainly puts a little bit more on the offense as far as how they can communicate and things of that nature. I think for us, starting fast, I always tell the guys when we hit the field, we got to figure out a way to start fast. Somebody go out there, make a hit, get a TFL so we can kind of have that juice, have that energy. Because for us here in is our stadium still called New Era anymore? Bill Stadium, our fans bring it for us. Our 12th man, just being electric throughout the entire game is probably the biggest pickup for us that we feed off of on defense. So with the crowd not being there, we gotta find a new way to kind of create some energy, just because there are times during the game where the stadium is really eerie and quiet. And so for a lot of us, we've never really played around that environment, just because even at practice, we still have some kind of background noise or music going. So I just tell guys to figure out a way to lock in a lot quicker and sooner, because we're going to need that edge. You're going to need to be able to figure out something to where either you start fast or you finish strong. Either one, you got to figure it out. So I think for us, we've been kind of putting it together. We're figuring it out, but hopefully, you know, after last week, we were able to kind of put it all together and just understand it's got to start and stop with us. You know, we got to bring that juice.
Absolutely. And does it feel like a real game, or does it feel more almost like a scrimmage type feeling playing the games?
Oh, it feels real just because the contact's flying around and guys are still hitting. So it still feels real. We're just missing that crowd noise and that crowd energy. But other than that, everything else of the game aspect, the speed, the way guys are flying around hitting, all that still feel real.